I always want to say prime when it says indivisible. This is the math thing. I just want to say.
So, okay, so thank you
That's
for,
right,
for sharing this.
we have to make you official.
I know,
Yes.
I really was very presumptuous on
That's gonna happen
that
anyway.
one, so.
Unless John has some other.
Yeah, so,
So, do we want to do that before Emily, or do we want?
yeah, well, just takes a second.
Okay.
I think officially we have to, so, I'll make a motion to nominate Barbara Campbell as our new chairman of the board.
Seconded.
And
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. All right, now I can say that.
Uh,
All right, so Emily is on the phone actually, so I'm gonna unmute you, Emily, and Julie, do I turn this on to get better?
It's on, it was on.
Sorry.
Okay.
Maybe put it closer up to you.
I really wanted to get from Emily to my speaker on there. Okay, go ahead, Emily. You're muted. There you go.
Okay, great. First of all, I just wanted to let the select board members know, and just sort of get it on the record, that Staples actually gave the town a donation of hand sanitizers of various sizes that I distributed. Police, fire, Jackson Heartland ambulance, and just a big thank you to them for their support. That was through an effort they were doing to
You have to speak up.
provide supplies to emergency management folks.
Okay.
So there's that, but then I also just wanted to bring to the attention, I hope was shared with you, the scope of work proposal on the MOU for the Jackson Emergency Operations Plan update that is due to the state. And basically, if you have any questions, the idea is to go with Jude Garno of Maverick Solutions up in Twin Mountain. They helped us with the EOP the last time. It is time to update our plan. It's been 5 years. The state is actually asking for 4 years, every 4 years, but everyone's trying to kind of catch up with that. I've been in touch with Courtney Jordan, who has informed me sort of how things work in terms of the money that is expected for the town's portion of it. And I believe it was also communicated to you that in regards to that, she's confident that the amount of funding that the town expends for employees who are attending the meeting, that can be used towards that match amount, and that should be able to cover things. There is also additional funding coming down through some COVID related, the American Rescue Plan. Some of that funding used, but there could be additional funding available for that. Work is anticipated to start in the fall, and then it should be, I think it's all pretty much laid out, hopefully wrapped up.
Okay, so the total cost is $3,500 that we're looking to offset through the other initiatives that you just mentioned.
The actual total cost, yes, yep, $3,500. There's an initial payment of $72.
$1,700.
Yeah, before the start of the first meeting, which again, we have a couple months till that. And then, yeah, it's sort of stated, I don't know if you have that MOU in front of you.
I do.
So it states in the payment procedure. The total grant amount is $7,000, and it's a 50-50 match. That's what that
Right.
335 is. So.
Okay.
So to proceed forward, just need to have your signature on it, and then I'm going to be coming down to town offices tomorrow and can get that set and send it on to you so you can sign as well.
Okay, and did either of you want to see this? Did you look at it yet or anything? It's the,
I worked it before.
yeah, and I just signed it on the one page, so.
Yeah, actually, it looks like I don't have to sign it, I guess. It's just, yeah,
Just-
select board.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got it.
And, yeah, and that's it, unless there's any other questions folks have.
Any updates that we need to know about from the CDC or anything like that, or?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is that we've gone from universal guidance as safer at home to now the universal best practices. So that is information that's available on the town website. The New Hampshire Municipal Association has included some additional guidance for folks. The state calls have now gone to every 2 weeks with Homeland Security and Emergency Management. They continue to respond to any information questions that we have in between those calls. So they're continuing to, the EOC is still open down to the state. But I think it's definitely the fact that things are opening, we're feeling more confident, vaccination rates are up, and still, if you're with a lot of people inside close by, put a mask on.
Okay, now, do we need to make a motion to accept this proposal then? Okay, so I will take a motion for the scope of work and proposal and memorandum of understanding for the Jackson Emergency Operations Plan EOP update.
We'll make a motion to approve the update for the, what was it called again?
EOP.
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 And I guess I will add that we are expecting one of you to participate in the process. So.
I've done it in the past.
Or keep informed, I guess, of the whole.
Okay.
the work.
Can I
We
have a
looking
second?
for a second? Yeah,
Yes.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Next.
Thanks.
Um,
Oh, bye.
bye, thanks. So the next is the review of the liaisons that we had talked about, and I had given a copy of them to both of you. I think you briefly looked at it, and I think I gave you a
Yep.
copy, Frank.
Uh-huh.
So if it looks okay, then we can assign those accordingly, and I'll read them off.
Yeah,
Good?
it's good.
Okay, so very quickly, liaisons, I'm gonna read off each department and then who the liaison is. So for town clerk, John Allen. For financial administration, Barb Campbell. Assessing, John Allen. Planning board, John Allen. The zoning board is all three selectmen. The conservation commission is Frank DeFruscio. Building inspection, Barb Campbell. Police department, Barb Campbell. Ambulance, Frank DeFruscio. Fire, Barb Campbell. Emergency management, John Allen. Highway, Frank DeFruscio. Solid waste disposal, John Allen. Public welfare, Frank DeFruscio. And the library, all three selectmen. Okay, if anybody has any questions or anything, they can obviously work with any of the selectmen, but that is the main contact. The next is to approve the minutes from the last select meeting, which was April 27th, so that was before our town meeting. Did you guys look at those, or do you have any?
Well,
You weren't here, so any
I will make,
questions?
no, I have no questions, so I'll make a motion to approve those minutes from April 27th.
And I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then the only
Get
other
the
thing I
signs.
want to collect, well, oh yes, that's, I forget to pass things to. The only thing I want to mention too is that in the town meeting, when we were doing the count for the votes, I'm not good with numbers, but I'm an accountant and John's a math teacher, so we managed to
Screw it up.
get the numbers different there. So the outcome of the vote for rededicating the name of the town did not change. However, the totals were 37 yes. Oh, it says for the Andrew Jackson votes. Oh,
Fireworks.
sorry.
Fireworks.
There it is. Okay, so for the fireworks vote, it was, I don't have the numbers then.
It
It
was
says
38-27.
38 and 20. 38 for yes and 27 for no.
Right.
Okay. So, like I said, the outcome is the same. The numbers were just misstated. And then the other thing, while we're on the subject of the town meeting, is I wanted to make a mention to thank all of the volunteers that were at the election, as well as helping set up and take down for the town meeting. It was such a success in my eyes to see everyone there, to have the great weather that we were blessed with. So Glenn Ledge provided lunch for the volunteers on the election day, and Red Fox gave us free dinner the night of the election as well. And then the Whitney Center Committee served coffee, and J-Town provided some of the breakfast snacks and things like that, which were really great. So thanks to all the folks that helped put everything together and have it such a success. One last little housekeeping item is that the road crew is doing culvert work on the Bartlett side of Thornhill Road starting the week of June 7th. So the road on our side will be open to local traffic only. So that's an FYI. All right, now, moving on to the long selectmen discussion and motion items. Barbara Terrio, I know you're on there first, but Burr is here, and so we're gonna move you up, Burr, if you want to address the Valley Cross Bridge update. And then Jackie, I understand you have some comments, so I'll get to you as soon as Burr is done.
Sure. Can I pull my mask down?
Yes, you can bring your mask down, and if you want to use the microphone, you can. We're trying to get sound for both Zoom and Hank, but you're welcome to sit.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I just
Okay,
a little muffled there with the mask on.
absolutely.
So, you guys want just a quick update on Valley Cross Road Bridge? So they submitted the final design plans, GPI, the instructional engineer, probably almost 3 months ago now, and we still have not heard back from DOT on their design review. So that's sort of where it is. I'd expect that they'll come back with comments, and then they'll have to go make some changes, go back to them, and then wait another period of time. DOT's not super quick on reviewing these things. So my guess is they'll go out to bid this year, but they're talking about doing construction this year. I'm guessing a pretty limited amount of work will be done before winter's done. I mean, it takes a month to get bids in, and then it takes another month to review them, and another month to get going. So you can see the season running out pretty quickly.
And for this set of bids is for the construction,
Those are the bids for construction.
for actual construction.
Right.
But we can't get bids, we can't even acquire any bids yet until they approve the construction.
Right. They have to.
So
DOT
we're-
has to give you permission to go out to bid. So, yeah.
The big question is how much is it gonna go up because of the.
Right. Right. So far, what people are seeing is that it's more of lumber, residential building construction products that have really skyrocketed. But a lot of the civil stuff, heavy steel stuff, seems like people are still getting some reasonable prices. So
Is it access to contractors gonna be difficult too, though, and builders?
it's a little probably different contractor
Yeah.
than the residential, the housing ones, which is really they're the
Okay,
same.
so hopefully we'll,
So we may or may not keep that, capital reserve in place for next year.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we're waiting for DOT's permission, then we can go out and get our bids for the construction.
Right, and again, the
But-
step is they're gonna have to approve these final design and bidding documents, and then there'll be some revisions undoubtedly, and then that'll come back.
But we have no timeline and no date for anything right now, so we don't even know
No.
if we're going to enter into construction until late summer, early fall at the earliest.
Right, right. And then, with the bridge, there's a lot of materials need to be ordered, so you're not gonna get those items to do too much
Understood.
construction, I wouldn't think, for winter. But one other component is the DOT, between the time we started this project and now, they switched the process. It used to always be that whoever designed it did the inspections at the same time, which makes sense, but they switched that process, so now they no longer allow the design engineer to inspect it. So we have to start the process, like we did last time, John, the QBS process, a qualifications-based process of selecting an engineer for construction. So we'll have to advertise and then make a scoring sheet
Mhm.
and select, basically we'll probably have to interview them and select them based on their qualifications. Once we've selected, how it works is once we've selected them, then we negotiate a fee with them. And if you can't negotiate a fee, then you move on to the next one and you try to negotiate with them, but it almost always works out with them.
And are those is that the last group that we need approval, then they'll take it to the end?
Right, then they will take it to the end, yes, right. But that's a process we can start, and I can start going now so that by the time we actually go out to bid, we'll have receive bids, we'll have that person lined up.
Okay, so I was gonna say, is that you, that you'll take care
Yeah,
of
I'll
the score
start the
sheet
process,
and
but
that
we-
process?
Typically, the last time we had a committee of the 3 selectmen and myself
Yep.
to review that, and we met a couple of times before. So
Sounds
we'll
good.
probably need to do the same thing if you guys are up for it. If not, we'll want somebody else to.
Okay. Jackie, did you have a comment?
Well, it's my husband Tom who has the comments because he's been working with we've been working with Burr Phillips. I met with him a couple of times. So first let me introduce
Tom
ourselves.
Connors?
We're Jackie and Tom Connors. We purchased the Dick DeValiant Hall.
Okay.
That's in the section of Harbor Notch in Atlantic Cross Road. So we are the house that is an abutter to this project. So I took an interest in it, and first I want to commend the town for doing an excellent job with the state. In particular, there's some features that I really enjoy about the bridge. The first is that it is going to have a walkway on the falls side, preserving the walkway that is now closed, sidewalk that's now closed, that'll provide visitors and town residents a good view of the falls. Second is that the hydro water flow line underneath the bridge is going to be increased, which I think will help reduce the flooding in the immediate area on my side of the bridge. Third, it's going to preserve the ledge that's on the far side from my property. A lot of people tend to like to walk under the bridge and take a look at the scenery. So those are 3 excellent points. I do have some issues with the design, at least that have not been answered for me at this point. I did walk the area with Doug and found that the design of the bridge seems to be pretty good. But they are asking for some access to my property for construction material, for some construction vehicles, and I guess some, an easement
Easement?
for the bridge abutment, which is going to be increased in size. One of the concerns I left with the Burr was particularly around trees. He suggested that some trees were going to be cut. I asked for what that plan was. I have not heard back on that. Second is the roadway is going to be leveled up. So right now there's a dip. I think that will actually increase some of the speed of people coming down Valley Cross, and that won't be a good thing because it's still going to be a very narrow bridge. And lastly, the plan calls for guardrails on all 4 sides of the bridge. And very extensive guardrails. I'll classify them as highway quality guardrails. And they're going to come up about halfway on my side of Valley Cross and an equal amount on the far side of Valley Cross. Valley Cross is a very rural road. Jackson is a very rural town. And I really would not like to see the bridge have highway quality attributes associated with it. I don't think it fits the type of town that Jackson is, if you will. So those are the issues that I've got in for my approval for use of the land. I really need to know about the trees and what could possibly be done about maybe limiting the length of the guardrails.
Okay. Obviously, go ahead,
I
Brent.
can reply if you want some of those ones.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are working on the easement with Peter Malia, the draft easement language. So that's something we'll work with Tom and 2 other properties there as well. Both the other 2 are on the other side of the stream. I need to get from the structural engineer their actual cut and fill limits, and then I was going to go out and actually lay out where they were so we could figure out exactly which trees need to be cut. because some of them do. I mean, the existing abutment is on their property, so they have to essentially dig up that abutment and replace it. So if there's gonna be some work on their property, that's why we have to have part of the reason we have to have the access. And as he said, the road comes up half a foot to a foot or something like that across the front of their property, so there'll be a little more fill spilling out there. But these requirements for the guardrail are code requirements, so when you take DOT's 80% funding, they have to be brought up, things have to be brought up to current code, so those are the things. There are a couple of them that Tom pointed out, and when we looked there, it appears as though they're going further than they need to go, particularly on that side of it. I've already talked to Steve at TPI and asked him if they can take a look at that and see if they can shorten the guardrail up on that side of it. So, but that wouldn't be that won't show up on the plans until we resubmit to DOT.
So just so I'm understanding this personally, because the property that's involved changed owners, we're having to revisit things that we had already agreed upon when the previous owner was there?
No, I don't believe there was any discussions with any of the owners.
No, GPI just, at the very last minute, GPI said, oh, and we'll need to get these easements.
Okay. So then I think the things that have been brought up and discussed with you already, once we get to the stage where it's more after the DOT permission,
Right.
we'll have to consider all of those with the design.
Right, I'll be back
Please.
in touch with Tom too, with the trees and the guardrail issues, as soon as I.
The plan hasn't been
Oh,
approved
somewhere.
yet, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's half the issue. We haven't got to the final plan yet, so.
Right.
Until we actually have that, we can then go out and measure things and cut things and delineate all the areas that we need to
Right,
delineate.
well, we obviously need to get those easements in place from all the abutters there, but again, to replace the abutment, we have to dig the old ones up, and it's on his property, so
Okay.
there's no way about it.
As I told her, I'm not opposed to the easement. I'm just asking for some questions, perhaps some adjustment so that the impact to the visual aspects of the bridge and to my property are mitigated.
Okay.
I mean, if there's a way we can minimize tree cutting, I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna push for minimizing tree cutting, if there's a way we can work
Sure.
around it, that's for sure, but there's a certain amount you just can't avoid.
Right.
Beyond the standstick.
Okay. Do you have anything further then? It sounds like you guys have a good dialogue going already, so that's very nice, and welcome to the town. It's nice to meet you, and,
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that the select board was aware of the situation, and I do have some concerns, and I'm still waiting for some information. And the very nice gentleman that came out, we walked the property, and just waiting for him to get the details from the state as to what the impact is going to be on trees. And then we can talk about whether or not there needs to be any additional trees planted in lieu of that.
great.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your input.
Thank you.
And just so you know, Burr works by the hour. No, I'm just kidding. That's the financial side of me. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Jackson Falls parking and signage. Barbara and I,
Thank you.
thank you, Burr. Barbara Terrio and I have been working on some changes and proposed changes, I should say, on the parking and resident parking at the falls. So whoever has driven by there and noticed the new signage that says 2-hour limit, head-in parking only, I think that's been so far looking very nice, and haven't seen any offenders of that. Chief Pearlie, I don't know if you have, but the next thing that we want to talk about is the actual issuing of resident parking stickers. And what we had talked about and want to propose is that the town clerk and tax collector's office would manage handing stickers out to folks that have a Jackson driver's license and a vehicle registered in the town of Jackson. We decided against using the voters checklist because of the really administration part of it, and also if you have a registered vehicle in Jackson, those are the folks that we want to be able to use these 3 dedicated spots. We're not charging anyone that is not able to get one of those stickers to park anywhere else. We're not trying to make it impossible for anyone else that lives in Jackson part-time to be able to go to the falls. We know this is a new situation and we really want to try it out and see how that works. So we have the 2-hour parking signs that are there now, but we don't have the resident parking only, and we don't have the stickers. Do you want to add anything else to that?
Just that if today, if we could sort of just, these are just the final baby steps, and I think that I had really hoped that most of this would be done by Memorial Day, but that's going to be a real test for us on Memorial Day. We'll see, get a taste of what's happening, but already with the extended warm weather we've already been having, it's already, there are a lot of people at the falls.
Right.
So I'd like to see some approval from the select person, first of all, to order those. I think Pat has already put in 3, there are 3 wooden piece slots that really show you where the 3 areas are. And the 2-hour parking limit is there as well. What we do need is those signs. So I'd like to see that approved for residents only parking. And also I got a quote from Minuteman, just because for aesthetic reasons I thought blue and white would be nice for the decal because it's kind of watery. And and that'd be very similar to the transfer station. They would say Jackson resident parking, and they would be numbered so that as they were given out, they would all be numbered. And I have a quote here, and he gave me a quote for both 500 and for 1,000. They are meant to go on the inside of that back window, not on the outside.
So when you head in parking,
So
it's on the back of the vehicle, so it's easier.
So it's easy for
the police department.
to be able to see.
So on the flip side, I've also received several communications from non-full-time residents of Jackson that have second homes here that really would love to be able to have access to the resident parking as well. I hear that. I totally understand it. We're not trying to ban parking. We're not assigning full resident parking at the falls. So we're erring on the side of trying to make as many people have access as we can without, it's 3 spots. It's not every spot, I guess. So we're not going to make everyone happy, but I think we're just trying to get more access. And we're still limiting the resident parking to 2-hour parking as well. So
Another thing
Well-
too is that
Sorry.
this was specifically, and really a lot of people in the survey that we sent out, that was the biggest voice we heard from residents, was that they wanted their own parking. And that was residents, and not part-time, not anything. They had to sign a little thing, what are you? Full-time residents. So that's what our decision really went on. And let's face it, these are baby steps, and we're just trying to do something, and let's see how it goes. They're not banned from parking anyplace else.
right.
And they're still, and I just think that this is something that we really, you know, as people who are here all the time, are voting in Jackson, who are electing our officials in Jackson, these are the people that should have a parking space, and it's only 3, so.
Frank?
Well, only because I read that email today from
Yeah.
somebody said, you know, I'm a property owner and I'm a taxpayer, and they feel as if they should also have a right to park, I guess, in those 3 spaces. I'm not sure if they
Correct.
say that, but knowing that there are other places to park, the answer to that is we're not eliminating you from being able to do that. We appreciate you, like the town, and you're paying taxes, but this is for people to hear all the time. Because they didn't even mention how long they'd be here, so knowing that it's open to many different types of people in different places, I think that's probably gonna work for a while. But we will hear from people.
Yes.
I
You know,
pay
and
taxes in this town.
You can't please
I know that.
everybody all of the time.
Right.
And but we have to start somewhere. That's my
Yeah.
only premise. We have to start somewhere.
Mhm.
Peter?
I think this is a good compromise approach. I mean, every other town in the valley has residents-only spots for Beach, Chicora, Tamworth, Madison, Silver Lake, Eaton, Conway, even Bartlett. I don't think they enforce theirs very much at Big Rock, but it's technically for residents only. So I think, you know, it's a good compromise approach. We're not eliminating anybody. We're just making this a benefit for the people who actually live here.
Chief?
I just want to clarify some points of the discussion. I know it's not finalized, but, so it sounds like with the residents only, there'll be 3 dedicated parking spots. And I'm assuming those will be up by where the porta potty is, by Valley
Correct.
Cross? Okay. The sticker will go in the rear window,
Correct.
and the resident-only parking will also include the 2-hour limit.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we wanted to keep that consistent, so you've always got the 2-hour window there, and that way it opens up to more available parkers.
And is but the resident parking hasn't been finalized yet, is that correct? Like you didn't vote on it, or?
That's gonna be what we're,
Okay.
maybe deciding today.
And I will tell you, I know it's a little early in the season, but we have been monitoring the parking. And the way we're gonna monitor the 2-hour is taking pictures of parked cars during patrol, then coming back after the 2-hour limit expires. I've done that a few times myself, and so far full compliance. And really great is so far full compliance on that kind of banking where we have the biggest problems. I mean, it's clear as the driven snow, don't park there. I think that might displace some trouble to up above DeVillion's house where there's a little kind of natural pullover. We orange signed it last year, but that may need some attention, even though it's, there's no permission right there, so it is technically prohibited. People do like to have signage, but so far, so good.
So Chief, what happens after you go by there and you see someone's been there beyond 2 hours?
Oh, they'll get a citation, they'll get a parking ticket. I think you voted
You're gonna be looking for-
We did vote for $50.
Will you be
and-
looking for them on the river, or are you just gonna put something under there?
Well,
Yeah.
we kind of have a process.
Yeah.
We kind of have a process, and if anybody's been up there, I think Barbara's seen it firsthand. Is we'll go by, and we'll come across Valley Cross. If you see cars illegally parked, we'll actually make an announcement on the PA
Right.
that vehicles are illegally parked, they'll be ticketed and towed. Then we'll go back down. That gives them a little time. Come back around. Sometimes you see a flood of people coming out, sometimes you don't, and then we start writing paper. Sometimes people come out while we're writing paper. And sometimes we can get the information from the registration and announce the person's name specifically. That our tolerance ebbs off a little as the season goes on, because it's like when it's a little problem, we can really give them concierge service. When it's a big problem, everybody's getting tickets. But we've managed it. I think you will probably see a reduction in parking ticket income. We wrote 160 parking tickets last year. We wrote more parking tickets than any other community in Carroll County. I'm going to say with the exception of Wolfboro, because they don't report to the sheriff's department on that activity. But we wrote more parking tickets than any other town in Carroll County.
And that had also to do with the falls?
Well, that's primarily, and some winter band parking, but primarily, yeah. So you'll see a substantial reduction, but that's okay with me.
And one of
If
the
it's
other
okay with you.
One of the other things we're doing is we're working with as many organizations as we can that we know that promote Jackson and Jackson Falls. And Barbara at the Chamber of Commerce has been Kathleen at the Chamber of Commerce, has been very helpful as well. So we have consistent communication about come see our scenic falls and take pictures and then leave.
Get the heck
not-
out of
but,
here. Get the heck out of
yeah.
here.
But we've been trying to make things more consistent to do that. So, John, do you have any questions or thoughts or
No,
comments?
I think it's a great idea. I hate to see that many signs up there, but obviously they're needed for people to get the information out, but.
I would love to entertain a motion then to put up resident parking only signs and issue stickers to residents that have a Jackson driver's license and a registered vehicle in Jackson.
I can second that motion.
You have to make it first.
You have
You
to,
have to make, I'm asking for the motion.
Yeah, she's asking for it.
okay. Well, I'll make the motion that we adopt all of the things that you just mentioned.
Perfect.
And I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you
Nice
very
job,
much.
Barbara.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Pat, also, for, taking the
My
initiative with the
best
signage and stuff, so,
Just,
yeah,
This is kind of like an off the record, on the side, what John said is something that I had a little concern also. there's a lot of signs, but I understand how necessary you feel they are, but it smacked of sign pollution for a moment to me, but what else can we do, you see? There's a lot of signs. And maybe over time we can find that there's maybe another way of, corralling people and doing it the right, doing it a different way. But, in no way criticizing what you've done. I think it's great.
It's very consistent with DOT.
One of the things truly though is the help that I've gotten from Pat and from Barbara and actually from Kathleen. I mean, not only is she changing stuff on the website, but she is sending out a notice to all of the members of the Chamber of Commerce so that the word is going to be consistent with everyone.
Yeah.
And like I say, this is baby steps. Perhaps a host program sometime, but I don't ever want to see us charging for parking.
Good.
Right.
I'll tell you, more than one person said that when we got that wild and scenic designation, that we're gonna create an amusement park up there. And it would be steadily growing with people, and basically that's what has happened.
And then we had a pandemic, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And any other comments on that? I just want to segue into the next item, which is Jeff Sires, and he is on the call as well. So when we talk about what's going to happen when everybody gets into the falls area, and so Jeff is working, and the Conservation Commission are working with signage and carry in, carry out communication and things. So once people do get to the falls, hopefully they'll learn how to respect the area as well. So, Jeff, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Barb. Thanks for having me. First, I guess I'd like to say thanks to Dick Bennett for being the liaison of the Conservation Commission for the last couple of years. It was great to have his input at our meetings, and I know that he has, I won't speak for him in case he's changed his mind, but I know he has expressed interest in becoming an alternate member of the Conservation Commission moving forward. And the whole commission did voice their support for that move. So if you need anything from me in that regard, just let me know. But it'd be great to have Go ahead, Barb.
No, I just lost your audio for a minute. Go ahead. You're back.
And Frank, I don't think we've met before, but nice to meet you virtually, and looking forward to seeing you at our meeting. So thanks for.
When's the next meeting?
First
Monday.
It's not this coming Monday, the following Monday, which would be, I believe,
June 1st.
Ninth?
June 9th, yeah.
or no, the 7th. Excuse me. First Monday of each month.
And where do we have it?
We've been holding them virtually, although, there may be, I guess I don't know whether there's been any change to town policy as far as that goes, but we may be interested in resuming the in-person meetings at some point too.
That would be great.
Okay. So,
Okay,
Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, just getting to the issue I'm here for, the Conservation Commission has been talking about the work we'd like to do at the falls this summer, kind of really continuing work that we've been doing for the last several years to revegetate some areas and better establish the existing trails to kind of guide people in the right direction to keep them off of soils that have been eroding and some of the big tree roots that have been exposed as a result of people kind of just traveling everywhere throughout that area. So we'd like to request the withdrawal or approval for a withdrawal from the Wentworth Wildcat Fund to do some additional revegetation, planting of sod, place some wood chips, and then as well as you were talking about, to construct and install new kiosks that'll have some educational signage on it. Very, very basic, a little map and a few bullet points, just kind of outlining some of the etiquette for folks who are visiting the falls and making sure people are aware of what they are and aren't supposed to be doing.
Great.
And so the estimated total for that withdrawal is $4,366, which is about the same magnitude we've had for the last couple of years. It's a little bit more. I think large of that comes from the new kiosk and sign, which are a total of about $1,900.
Perfect. So I would like to entertain a motion for $4,366 to revegetate and put up the kiosk and signage.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You are set, Jeff.
Thank
Show
you
me
very
the
much.
money.
I actually have one quick request. we did talk about the existing stone outlet aprons that are at the falls and whether the road crew might be able to go up and clean those out and maintain them at some point. They are pretty well filled in, and I think there's a little bit of erosion going on alongside them as a result. So if that would be possible, that would be great.
Okay, Pat's nodding his head yes, so he'll either be in touch with you if he needs anything, or I'm sure he knows probably what you're talking about. Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Jeff, for all you're doing there. Appreciate it. Okay, the next agenda item is the Jackson Covered Bridge 10K running race.
Yay.
And I have Andrew Drummond on the line. So Andrew, do you want to go ahead and chat here?
Still muted. No. There he is.
Sure, yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Just introduce myself, I'm Andrew Drummond, I'm the owner of Ski the Whites in Jackson. We're also a bike shop and a trail running shop. I've been hosting events here in Jackson for 4 years now, mostly up at Black Mountain Ski Area. And this will be our fourth summer doing a Friday night vertical series up there as well. And I grew up in Conway, New Hampshire, and was part of the White Mountain Milers growing up, as was my whole family. And I knew about the Covered Bridge 10K when I moved back here in 2014, and sadly never got to participate in it. And so I've been in touch with the White Mountain Milers, and they don't seem to have their hand in it or any interest in bringing it back. And I thought, being here in Jackson, it seems like a great community event, road running event. It has a lot of history here, and it's something that myself and I think the running community at large, whether you're a trail runner, road runner, whatever that is, hiker, wants a challenging road race like this back in New Hampshire. I have Monty McIndoe on the call here as well. He's helped co-direct a bunch of our events as well. And I'm proposing doing something around August 13th. It would be an evening event. It's Friday the 13th. It would start at 6 p.m. Go to 8 p.m. And this is mimicking a little bit of what I've been doing with my Friday night events to help attract some out-of-towners, get more people, rather than having it on a really busy, summer weekend morning. But also the evening style event is something that's also been done. My very first 10K road race was the Saunders 10K down in Rye, New Hampshire, and that's on a Thursday evening. So I think I just want to go through the proper channels to see if this is a possibility to bring back, and if so, I want to have a very successful, safely event.
Chief Burley, did you have some comments on this?
Yes, I've had correspondence with Andrew, and if he can hear me, if he can't, just relay this question. I just want to confirm one thing. The route is going to run clockwise, going up Carter first and coming down Black Mountain. I just want to confirm that.
correct? Did you hear that, Andrew?
That's not the original one, but again,
I couldn't hear.
Well, I guess that's the thing. It's like, what was the original route?
it went counterclockwise originally.
It went counterclockwise before?
The clockwise is far easier to police, counterclockwise is far more difficult because you're turning left across traffic or running into traffic. If it's clockwise, they're always making a right turn. So that's really good for race management.
Yeah, you're going to be running on the left side of the road. So if you're going counterclockwise, all those lefts.
They're going to run on the left side of the road? I thought they were going to run on the right side of the road.
You always run against traffic, right? Aren't you supposed to run and walk against traffic?
Yes.
Yes. Right.
Well, I guess let's clarify that with him then. Then it would be better to do counterclockwise.
Andrew, was there a reason you were doing clockwise? Go ahead.
Well, counterclockwise would be easier on the runners with longer grade descents than the steep descent of Black Mountain Road. Now, just when I drew this out, I originally was thinking clockwise, but that's sort of one of those things where pick the easier route to manage.
But I think as a runner, if you run on the left side of the road, the only time you would have to cross the road would be down by the stone bridge by Wentworth. The rest of the time, you're running against traffic, so you're not actually crossing anything.
Yeah.
If you run clockwise, if you run clockwise, you're gonna have to come out the other way.
Right, well, this is why I'm asking, because
Yeah.
he had, the map had shown clockwise. So if it was clockwise and they were running with traffic, a lot easier to police. If it's clockwise against traffic, more difficult because of the road crossings.
Right.
If it's counterclockwise
You only have one.
with traffic, counterclockwise against traffic, easier. With traffic, again, more difficult. So that's what I kind of want to fix from it.
It makes more sense to go counterclockwise. against traffic.
So he wants to go counterclockwise against traffic.
Right.
Okay. So, just first of all, I don't have any objection to the event. I think no matter what the event is, we can always figure out a way to police it. So I did ask Andrew some questions, particularly about if he would have volunteers for some intersections, and he said that he can have volunteers at select intersections. So that's good. I just want a hard confirmation on that. He can get race volunteers for those intersections.
So Andrew, is that a yes, you can have volunteers for the main intersections?
Yes, absolutely.
Because you can get, no matter the course, you can get leakage from Dundee Road, you
Right.
can get leakage across Valley Cross. Those were two of my concerns. You probably won't get any leakage coming down Carter Notch. But at any crossing or intersection, that could be a problem with leakage. I foresee 3 police positions in the race that are gonna have to execute a full stop at the beginning and then 1 critical post for a police officer. So the full stop posts are the other side of the bridge to redirect traffic away from the bridge, you know, at the beginning. A full stop at Carter Notch Road coming over the Stone Bridge, so traffic is at a full stop. And those things usually are like 5 minutes, like we do with the Wild Quack, we
Right.
do it Sunday. And then a full stop officer at Black and Switchback, because that's kind of a bleed area, people can come down Switchback, but that's fairly easy to maintain. And then, as the race progresses and thins out, which often happens in any long duration race, the only really critical staffed position or post would be that Black Mountain Switchback area, so when they're coming back down around. So that's gonna be a static post, an officer's gonna be assigned there. The other 2 can roam and monitor safety on the course. Now traditionally, we have 1 person assigned per shift at that time of day during the week. I would come in for the race to help police it, but I think he's gonna need a 3rd, and the reason I say he's gonna need a 3rd officer is because we have 1 duty officer, then plus me. So if the duty officer gets an emergency call, he's gotta leave. Somebody will have to backfill that critical spot by Black. Having that 3rd officer allows to maintain integrity and safety on the course, but also a 2nd officer for that Black spot. So I think that that the race could go with 3, but I think he should pay for 1 detail officer, and I don't think he'd have to pay more than the minimum of 3 hours, because I don't think the race would take that long to police.
4 hours.
If John runs, it'll be 4 hours.
So I like to do the public events without any detail, but where it's gonna require the 3, town events, we certainly nobody has to pay a detail for the town sponsoring it, but it is a private entity, he is having an event, I encourage it, I think we can police it, I think it can be successful, but I think if he has it, he's gonna have to pay for at least 1 detail officer and cruiser for 3 hours.
Estimated cost on that?
I think is the rate 60 for a car and an officer, is it?
I think it's something like that.
Or is
It's
it
around-
60 or 50 for
We'll
a
use the
car and an
bikes.
officer?
Yeah.
Use the bike.
So, yeah, that's it.
Well,
So
for the
50.
static post, yeah, we're gonna use a bike.
Yeah.
So
So
maybe
somewhere
you could
between
save some
$200
money there.
and $250 for the officer and the post. Andrew, does that
No,
sound?
it would be either 180 or 150,
Yeah.
maximum cost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So between
Probably
150 and
150.
180. Does that sound reasonable, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I have the application in front of me, which will have to change because it'll have to change from clockwise to counterclockwise. But other than that, I would like to hear a motion to approve the,
I just have one question. I
Oh,
said
sorry.
the 6 p.m. start, just like I said, are we gonna have lights for me when I come in or what?
you can get a police escort at the end.
Shouldn't take me 3 hours to do
A
it.
lot of
Or
blue
an, or an
lights.
ambulance.
Or an ambulance, right?
Did you have anything, comments? I'm really excited to
Yeah, I'm excited to
bring
have
this
it back
back,
too.
yeah. So, can I have a motion to approve the new, what are we gonna call this? The Jackson Cover Bridge 10K, right?
Revisited.
There you go.
I'll make that
The
motion.
34th edition, so
There you
I'm not
go.
sure. Does anyone know the last year it was run?
I don't. I don't. It's over 20 years ago at least.
Yeah.
I still have some shirts.
There's results on
They still fit.
2012.
2012?
Huh?
All right. I heard the motion. Would you like to second?
That'll be a second, absolutely.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, guys.
We got it
Thanks
going.
very much. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate those
This thing
comments.
is coming right up.
Thank you.
I will not be running. I don't run. Okay, the next, we're already on item E.
See?
Transfers.
D.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Ellie
D.
is here. I don't know if you wanted to move up a bit. I don't know if you want to like. I
Wanna
know
go back
'cause
to work?
she's way
Yeah,
down at the
sure.
bottom, so I thought Ellie from the
Absolutely.
Wentworth could maybe come.
Item E, yeah.
Oh,
Um,
is that okay? Is that okay? I just thought.
It'll take
She-
a while.
You emailed
A lot of pain and suffering.
Gotta go for quarter early.
Okay.
So P.
Item P.
Item
There
P.
we go. So, this is simply to read into the minutes that the parking lot across the street from the Wentworth is the hotel's property. This was discussed in a previous select meeting months ago, and, it was still a little vague in the minutes, Ellie, is that correct? So I just wanna make sure that it is clear that the parking lot across the street from the Wentworth is the hotel's property. So it is specifically for hotel guests.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Perfect. Thank you very much for coming
See
to
ya.
represent.
See.
Red. Done. Okay. And actually, we are on D,
D.
which is police policy update and fireworks permit.
Okay, thank you. The police policy update, and you should have a copy of proposed SOP 38, which is entitled Emergency Response in a Crisis. Use of the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale. This is a policy that I drafted that works in conjunction with a new practice that we are instituting at the Jackson Police Department of when we go to a call, if there's a person in crisis, we're going to use what's known as the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale in order to evaluate them for risk of suicidal ideation, frequency of that risk, and also work cooperatively to get them a service if it's a warm handoff to mental health clinician, all the way up to taking them into custody and taking them to Memorial Hospital for involuntary admission evaluation. So this is a component of a project that I've been working on for about 8 months with the National Association of the Mentally Ill, as well as the Carroll County Coalition for Public Health. There's training that police undergo called the Connect program that helps sensitize them to understanding people in crisis. But there was never any kind of transition or training for evaluating people in the field with any kind of effective tool to make a determination of, do they need a service other than me taking them into custody because they're really, really in a crisis, going to harm themselves or another person. So my research showed that most emergency rooms, when they are triaging somebody who they take in for in crisis, uses the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale. there's a law enforcement application for that scale. It's called the short form. I have a card right here that officers can carry. And there's a series of questions on the back of it. And then the officer ultimately gets a score that puts a person in a low, medium, or high risk category, and then there's certain actions they take. So I'm, along with NAMI, I'm developing a training protocol, a 4-hour training protocol for law enforcement that looks like we'll be capable of deploying it in early fall. The first step is to deploy it in Carroll County to all Carroll County law enforcement agencies, and later they want to really explore deploying it statewide as a statewide model policy. So along with that training and the use of the CSSRS, you need to have a policy associated with the use of it. So that's what this policy is. I drafted it. It's been reviewed by NAMI. They like it. They're going to actually adopt it and use it as a model policy in their Connect training, because they're going to start incorporating the CSSRS component into the Connect training that they present, or they're exploring that option at the academy level. So it could end up that at the police academy level, the training component for dealing with persons in mental health crisis is Connect plus CSSRS, which will be the packet that Jackson Police Department designed. So that's what the project is. So this is the policy component of that project. And this works in conjunction with our standing policy that's already adopted on responding to persons experiencing mental health crisis, which is our SOP 36. I thought it was more prudent, instead of just inserting a reference to the CSSRS into the existing policy, make a standalone policy so it kind of highlights the importance of using the tool. We have also already deployed that tool in the field to evaluate a person in crisis. So we're making some pretty good strides for a little tiny 5-person PA.
I really appreciate the mental health awareness, period. That's just, so anything more that you can do and people can be more aware is just a great direction to go in. So,
Yeah, it pays dividends. It sensitizes the officers. It helps serve the community in a community caretaking role, and also residually can reduce use of force incidents.
Right.
So it's a win-win. And get people help. Good. So I just have to move the board to accept the policy as written and add it to the Jackson Police Department SOPs.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the policy and put it into place, if I can hear a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Chief. The second thing on your agenda for tonight is the fireworks permit.
So we had to vote on the fireworks ordinance. So the fireworks ordinance passed, and during the discussion of the fireworks ordinance, the question was posed, is the town going to review and issue permits for fireworks, which the town currently does whenever there's an application for fireworks. So I did some research on that, and it's kind of interesting, and I'm going to just suggest this to the board, and then you can make your own decision. So the ordinance specifically refers to RSA 160-B31B. The section 160B is a chapter entitled fireworks, so that's the whole chapter deals with it. So 160B3, section B, says that for a person to lawfully use and display fireworks, they, quote, they has obtained a municipal permit to display issued pursuant to 160B7, which shall be in such person's possession and which has not been revoked or suspended. So within the reference in the ordinance to 160B31B, you read that and there's a reference to 160B7. 160B7 is the requirements to display fireworks. 160B7 allows 3 different distinct entities to be the approving entity, the approving authority for a permit application. Those are the chief of police, a licensing board, or the governing board of the municipality. So those are your choices. If a town or a city had a licensing board, and they would approve all kinds of licenses maybe, you can accept the responsibility of review of permits and issuance of, or denial of permits, or you can defer that authority to the chief of police. The permits, it goes on to say what the conditions are of, this has got 5 sections, so it goes on to say what the conditions are. But my recommendation to you would to be assign me as the licensing agent for firework permit displays. I have all the statutes, I wrote the ordinance. I already do it because we just got one for 4th of July and it comes through and I have to sign it. And then the display, like the permit is also subject to post-discharge inspection by the fire chief or his designee. Right, so it's interesting to me that the ordinance does not make the fire chief the authority of approval, but it makes the fire chief the authority of discharge. So once the permit's approved, the display has to be inspected by the fire chief, and the fire chief has to approve it. And the people, of course, have to be licensed. You have to have something called a certificate of competency from the Department of Safety to discharge pyrotechnics. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, I should say. Like I said, it's a new ordinance, but my recommendation to the board would be to assign me as the licensing agent for the town of Jackson for fireworks displays.
Go ahead.
Is it possible that, say, somebody had a wedding at one of our local establishments here and they wanted to have fireworks? Is it possible for them to get a professional person and go through the permitting process now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But we as a board could deny it because of fire safety issues or whatever we
Right.
decide to. Right.
Any person who meets the conditions outlined in the statute could get a permit to display fireworks. Now, that doesn't mean just anybody can get a permit. It's conditions, just like a license or a fishing license or whatever. So, but yeah, if somebody was allowed or licensed to discharge fireworks, and somebody was having a wedding, they could hire that person, they could make their application, and if they meet the criteria, they get a permit. So yeah.
Does this count for 4th of July and New Year's night also?
I'm sorry?
Does this count for 4th of July and New Year's Eve?
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
You know why I'm asking that.
yeah,
because-
and like I said, we also, we had that discussion in town hall, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, nobody's supposed to go over the posted speed limit either.
I know.
So we know,
Okay.
we have a pretty solid hand on discretion, but,
that's
by
good.
statute, somebody has to be the licensing agent. Because the town represented to the people that, well, yeah, if you qualify, you could get a license. And that already happens. That's like stating the obvious. It already happens. People file for applications, like, so whoever it was, Alice or somebody, through the Chamber of Commerce, and they qualify. They have all the stuff, so that's signed.
Peter.
So just a question, so this is then a de facto prohibition on personal use of fireworks?
No, not at all. Not at all. If you meet the criteria,
Of a commercial.
I never said commercial anything. It says a certificate of competency. I don't know what that criteria is, but the state of New Hampshire does, and you can ask them, but nowhere does it say it's a prohibition, and nowhere does it say it's a commercial permit.
Okay, that's great. So I consider myself competent.
That's
So
not, it doesn't matter what you consider, it matters what the Department of Safety considers.
And that's a licensing issue, right? Yeah.
What they issue is a certificate of competency.
Right.
What the municipality issues is a license. What the fire chief inspects is a display, just like it happens now. So no, it's not a prohibition, it's a regulation, just like zoning, building.
But the
But
likelihood.
you gotta get a permit to have a fire.
Yeah, the likelihood of you, me, or anybody else who wants to have a personal fireworks display is not gonna happen in the town of Jackson.
It's not. So I think I think we got into this totally not knowing what we were getting into, as I stated. Because it was stated at the meeting that This was because of short-term rentals.
Largely.
So now, as a resident of the town and other residents of the town, we're being punished because of the short-term rentals. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And I think.
Well, it gives chief and his officers an opportunity to be able to enforce it. That's the thing. And we didn't have anything on the books to enforce it. And this is what this ordinance will do for us.
I would, yeah, and I would really like to not make things as a result of short-term rentals and the residents there. I mean, it may be the fact, but we don't know that, and we don't know who the residents are. And to classify and generalize that short-term renters are causing all of our problems is, I think, inappropriate.
Right.
That's
agree.
my opinion,
That's
so,
what was stated at the meeting.
I know, and again, I'm,
So
That's,
I
And
just have one more question.
Mhm.
The fines issued is $100. For any second, third, or fourth offense is only gonna be $250. I'm just trying to build this into my budget.
absolutely. And I actually Googled the certificate of competency, and there is something there, so, you know, for sure, just, yeah, see what's on there for what you need to do to file for that certificate.
With competency, with the state or with the?
State,
Yeah, they're fine.
yep.
It's a commercial permit, is essentially what it is. I think.
I didn't read that, but I'll have to Google further, so.
Okay, thank you.
Do we want to make a motion for the
Saturday is
chief to be the designating authority for permits?
the designated authority with lots of discretion.
No.
Yes.
All right, I'll make a motion to allow the, well, I don't know how I want to word this,
know.
chief the authoritative figure for the permitting process of fireworks.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I would like it if you could follow up with that certificate of competency and find out what someone would have to do to file that, because Peter might even beat you to it, but if somebody could provide that, just so we know what would be there. Okay. Thank you. Okay, transfer station violations. So this is a question of how we're going to be handling violations. We get a hard copy of a paper that has a license plate and the actual issue up at the transfer station. But I believe because it's on Bartlett property, we're not able to look up the license plate. Is that correct?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know I was on this one.
You are now. Transfer station.
When we receive a violation for the transfer station, because it's actually on Bartlett-owned property, you cannot look up the license plate number and the owner?
That's correct. Those regulations are what's known as CJIS and Driver Privacy Protection Act, TPPA. CJIS stands for Criminal Justice Information System. So if there is something happens at the transfer station, the territory of the transfer station where people drop the trash off is actually the town of Bartlett.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody gives us a plate and says, hey, who's this person? God bless you.
God bless
They're
you.
mixing in, the tin cans with the aluminum cans. We are prohibited by law and rule from looking that information up because we don't have jurisdiction over the complaint. The complaint needs to go to the town of Bartlett. Now, the chief of police, or anybody, any police agent, can look that information up in the course of an official investigation, and the official investigation would be for a violation of whatever rules go on. It could be, if they're putting stuff in the wrong place, it's littering or it's unlawful activities, which is the term for throwing refuse where it doesn't belong. So that person, the chief or any of his officers, can draw a call for service number, do a report, look up the number, find out who it is, and they can go do whatever. Give them a warning or give them a ticket or what have you.
That's what it comes down to then. What do we want to do with these that we don't have the information for? And do we want to ask Bartlett to look up the owner information and then we can contact them? Do we revoke their sticker? Do we penalize and fine them? And what what's in place already. Do you know any of that, John?
Well, we had no particular protocols for fining or suspending or anything right now on the books, nor does Bartlett that I'm aware of. If I would ask, just Chief, one thing, if we had the dump sticker number though, that's something we could look up though, because we have.
Oh, yeah.
We have.
So we don't want license places, but we got dump sticker numbers and we
No,
can.
and they might know the person, like, you know, if Bartlett called and
Yeah,
said-
there are a couple that have the names
Yeah,
on
I
them
mean,
that
if
we
Bartlett
know.
called and said, Mr. Jones from Juniper Way is doing something wrong at the transfer station, we certainly would help and go and say, hey, guy, you gotta stop doing that. We couldn't take any official action, you know, because if it was littering or unlawful activities, which is dumping refuse, we don't have jurisdiction. But we certainly would convey a message. But we can't, that's if you know who it is. We can't look up the license information and share it with the transfer station, or we're really not supposed to be looking up unless we have jurisdiction, you know, because there's criminal penalties for, you know, idle curiosity or misuse of that information, criminal penalties for the officers. So that's the process.
So if somebody is in violation and it is Bartlett property, technically Bartlett Police has to write them the ticket,
Correct.
even though they're Jackson residents.
Correct.
All right, so that may be the process to go through, is to say, hey, you catch it, no, we're gonna set them up there and write your ticket.
Right, I mean, the long story short is any offense that occurs at the transfer site is occurring in the town of Bartlett, and therefore the Bartlett Police Department has jurisdiction.
And you said it was littering, and what was the other one?
The other offense is called unlawful activities. So like littering is the ejection of trash and refuse on a public way. So you're driving down the road, boop, chuck a beer can out the window, that's littering. Unlawful activities is the unlawful disposal of refuse anywhere else. So for instance, it's not on a way, but you dump trash in the woods or whatever, I guess in the woods, or in the river, wherever. That's called unlawful activity.
Somebody else's dumpster?
Well, that can be theft of service, but it can also be unlawful activities. So that's a misdemeanor.
Fine.
Well, a misdemeanor can be up to $2,000. And a violation is up to $1,000. Do you have it, does the town of, well, I guess the town of Bartlett would have to have an ordinance on, you know, misconduct at the transfer station in order to fine people. Probably the only recourse they have right now is to revoke their privilege.
That's what they do,
Right.
that's what they
And then if
do.
they show up, it's trespass.
Again, I litigation-wise, if somebody's paying taxes and they can't dump their trash, I don't know, how,
It's a pickle,
I can get yourself in some
yeah.
grief.
So we have about 7 or 8 violations here. How long a period does this cover for these violations that we've received? Is this like the last 3 weeks or 6 months or
Last month.
Probably a month. yeah.
month?
Is that common? About
Most of
everybody?
those are the ones I wrote when I was working there.
So will you look at your bags?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, here's the thing, the big thing is the volume we're trying to get out of the main hopper there. You know, the glass is very dense, the cans,
Sure.
all the things that don't need to go in there, we
Right.
recycle and et cetera. So if somebody takes their bags and drops them into a clean hopper with no trash in it, you hear it go clank, clank,
Yeah.
clank, clank.
Yeah.
I pull the bag out, open it up and say, oh, look at all those bottles and cans in there, and then I write up a form for them.
Wow.
So,
Has anybody else done that up there?
that was my job when I was up there that day. I don't handle
Oh, so
machine.
they do have that.
I
there's
was
somebody-
working there, yeah.
Okay.
But that's the idea, is that those 2 hoppers are manned by a person who is going to inspect bags if they indeed do not recycle. And, I've shamed a few friends to get them to recycle. It's been quite fun, actually. But it has gotten a little better. But again, this is, typical.
Yeah. Do you think it's worth it to have another meeting with Bartlett and come up with a new and revamped process? And at the same time,
Well, I don't think the process needs to be
knowing-
revamped. I think we have a process, and that is get the sticker number and get Bartlett to write him a ticket.
Right,
That's-
or maybe re-educating to the
Yeah.
process then. And also, we're going to have some new personnel at the transfer station. Our manager, Don Miller, is resigning and retiring on June 8th. So we're going to have some new personnel there, and I think that's probably a good time to have a new meeting with Bartlett and Jackson and the new selectmen also, and make sure that we go over what the processes are, who does what, which town is responsible, and make sure we have pertinent information so we can call our friends. So I'll coordinate that with you guys and the Bartlett selectmen, and we'll get something on the books for that. And try to reduce the amount of lack of respect for the rules that we have up there.
And then just going back to the fireworks, Peter, you've probably already seen this, but it looks like you can pass a written test and you can, shall receive 8 or less wrong to pass the test.
There you go.
I don't have a chance.
True false test.
So, okay, thank you, Chief, for that information. I memorized all of that. The next item is street sweeper blades. We received an email in the selectman's office from Alda Dufilho, and she's a 4th grader at the grammar school, and she noticed that the street sweeper bristles that were left on the road were becoming abundant. So she and some of her classmates decided to collect them and count them, and they came up with 352 street sweeper bristles. So she wrote us a really kind and caring email about some of the cautions and things that were bothering her about that. So I got in touch with the highway department, and I believe it was Gary that responded, and good intentions. You guys tried to save some money by buying some different rollers for the street sweepers, and they ended up not being as good a quality, and as a result left some additional bristles on the paths. So I did respond back to Amanda, and she was very appreciative of the response, and it was nice to hear from someone that young, and she really made excellent points and well-worded email and stuff. So thanks to her, and then thanks for the response on that. And you guys, I guess, are going to look into what your
go back to Caterpillar.
And see. And she sent a really cool picture of the bristles and everything, and I thought it was kind of cute. So we will be aware of that more, and hopefully get better outcome next year. So
How much more money, Pat?
it was 500 out of 1,000 bucks or something.
Versus 1,000.
Yeah.
They
So
last one season.
One season? Wow.
Or we're
Right.
gonna look into getting a different broom. Right now, the only broom we have is the one that goes on the front of the backhoe. So we could look at purchasing a different broom, a pull behind. You have definitely more, the bristles last a lot longer.
Oh, all right. The next item is trustees of the trust fund withdrawal. So the Board of Selectmen are requesting the following withdrawals from the trust funds. $796.02 from the Bridge Repair Expendable Trust Fund 0034 for White Mountain Lumber Company and Hancock Lumber. And then $748.10 from the Baker Prospect Farm Fund 0023 for forest land improvement.
The trustees are typically required to say what the invoice number is and the date.
Okay.
So that they can match it up.
Let me go backwards. $796.02 from the Bridge Repair Expendable Trust Fund, which is invoice 707464, dated 4/21/2021 for White Mountain Lumber Company, and then invoice 2273041, dated 4/13/2021, and invoice 2278545, dated 4/21/2021 for Hancock Lumber. And the $748.10 from the Baker Prospect Farm Fund is invoice 21-85, dated 5/12/2021 for forest land improvement.
Could you repeat that?
Nope. Rewind. So I will take a motion to approve these two trust fund withdrawals.
I'll make that motion to approve those 2 trust fund withdrawals as stated before.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Signature, please.
I missed those numbers, can you repeat those?
I'll hand it over to you when you sign it, you can read. You know me, I'm good with numbers. Okay, Jay is here, so our next item is to reappoint and appoint some deputy and, fire warden and deputy fire warden.
Actually, that was through Kenny Crowther.
Hmm?
Yeah, that's not a town thing, that's the state, so that's the state forest
Oh.
ranger and the forest warden.
Okay,
Just a reminder, anything to do with forest and lands is not a town, any kind of, the only town issue involved with that is you guys as selectmen appoint the warden and his deputies. But just a reminder, anything to do with woods fires basically is a state issue.
okay,
Town has no authority, the only thing the town does is if there's a fire, the fire department would go put it out. That's the only involvement we have with forest and lands and forest and fire permits. It's Kenny's baby.
and so, Ken
Ken's
Crowther is
the
our,
forest fire warden.
he's the forest fire
So
warden.
Kenny basically, there was some deputy wardens that are no longer with us, so those went away,
Mhm.
and there was one new warden, I believe, deputy warden
Right.
appointed.
Okay, so the forms that I have here that we are going to work through is to reappoint Kenneth Crowther for the forest fire warden.
Correct.
And the second is to appoint Joseph Stacy as a deputy forest fire warden.
Correct.
The third form is to remove and to check off the folks that are, so it's a reappointment, I guess, of the deputy wardens that are active, which include Kevin Bennett, Peter Benson, Benjamin English, Frederick J. Henry, Pat Kelly, Kim Stewart, and Ken Crowther as the warden. So, first I will take a motion to reappoint Kenny Crowther as forest fire warden.
I'll make that motion.
I will second. Am I allowed to second?
You can do whatever you want.
Awesome. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the second is to appoint the deputy forest fire warden to Joseph Stacy.
I will make that motion as well.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Eight, and this is just one selectman signature, I believe. And the other is an FYI for the reappointments, or do we have to make a motion for that as well?
Jay, do you know?
On the reappointments, if it's just checking off boxes, do we have to make a motion on that as well?
I don't
Yeah,
know much about that, to be honest with
Okay.
you.
then let's make,
Peter's
let's,
the guy.
let's
I
make
don't
a
think,
motion.
I don't think reappointments, I don't think usually get, I'm not positive.
Do they have a term?
5 years.
Good.
I would do it just to be on the safe side.
Yeah. So I will, accept a motion to reappoint and remove the appropriate people on this.
I thought he was removing one, like I thought he was removing Kim.
He's removing, a couple
Oh. maybe it
that
is
are
Kim.
not on here anymore, not
Okay.
active anymore, I believe.
Not in town anymore.
I will make that motion to reappoint those people.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so. Okay. All right. The next is for housekeeping on the short-term rental conditional use permit. And this is like I said, housekeeping, so it's not something that we had to have any public hearings on or anything. What we're doing is we're adding a section to the conditional use permit that asks for a submission of the copy of the rental advertisement listing the number of bedrooms. And we're asking that to be attached with the permit
It's a
now.
lot easier for the applicant to submit it than for us to find it.
Right. And the second thing that we're going to be adding on to the conditional use permit is the, on the affidavit that they're aware of the town ordinance for fireworks. So,
And just so you all know, that just to apply is the same exact amount as the penalty. So, I'll take the penalty.
what is it? Act now, ask forgiveness later?
If I get caught.
And we can get your license.
Yeah. No, you-
So,
Commercial license.
But the license is good for 5 years, it said.
But I
So
will
you
get
pay 150 for 5 years or 150 every year.
Let's see.
We'll
I'll
see
hire
how
you for it.
we'll see how Peter does his budget.
I'll be out of town to do all my fireworks.
All right, so I will take a motion to update the conditional use permit for short-term rentals to include the copy of the rental advertisement as well as the affidavit for the town ordinance of no fireworks.
Just one quick point of order though, did we change the fines too in that?
That was voted on
That was
for,
an ordinance.
that was not
Oh,
on the conditional use
Okay, I
permit.
didn't know if it
that's
was
for
on
the
that form or
ordinance.
not.
Yeah.
It will be updated.
Yeah, I already updated that
Okay,
So, I'll make a
on
motion
the
to
website and the.
update
Yeah,
the
update the-
form for the short-term rentals.
Seconded.
all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, we're whipping through this, aren't we? Okay, on the Vista Way right-of-way, we had some discussion about the, whether or not we had to do this year or have a special town meeting on it, and we decided that we are not going to have a special town meeting on it. Is that correct?
That's the way I
Well,
feel.
so in order to do what they're asking to do, we need to adopt, a new
RSA.
RSA.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to do that, it requires a town meeting. So the question then was posed, do you guys wanna do that or not? And I spoke to both, Barb and Frank, and they said they didn't think it was necessary to do that. You have to do a lot to get a special meeting.
Yeah, that's something you put on the, next town meeting. I mean, it's not,
Exactly.
this is not exactly a
It's not.
urgent.
Exactly.
We want to get it done and done correctly, but, it's not something that's gonna change the world if we don't do it between now and next March.
It doesn't have town-wide significance. It's
Exactly.
just for an individual or a small little case.
Yep, so we'll put that on the agenda for next year's meeting.
Mhm.
Okay. I have an extended, I'm
Can
sorry,
I just
go
ask,
ahead.
Wes, is this something, because obviously I'm just getting it here now, have you folks talked about it? Is this something that's imminent, that you're saying, we're gonna go for this, or if there been any discussion?
This has been
Just
on
to-
the agenda for many, many months, and it's sort of been dragging along, so I don't feel like this is something that is urgent.
But as far as next year, when we get to it, there's gonna be a little thing in the bar, the select would approve or not approve. If you've been in a situation where you felt that this is easy to approve,
Yeah.
as far as the selectmen are concerned,
Yeah.
that depends on what,
Yeah,
what
we
the
have-
legislative body says, but that's
Yeah.
it. All right.
Yeah,
I think it boils
we
down
have
to
all the
swapping-
information.
Yeah, we're swapping pieces of property basically. In
Yeah.
order to do that, we had to approve the RSA and, the horse comes before the cart type
Mhm.
thing, so.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty much a rubber stamp once we get it. We have to have open meeting, hearings for it and stuff like that.
Well, sure, we
Yeah.
should.
But again, it won't be much of an issue, I don't think.
Good.
Thank you. So this is a request for an extended liquor license for the Thompson House. Town of Jackson gives permission to JK LNA LLC, DBA Thompson House Eatery, and Jeffrey Fournier, member, to serve alcohol outside of their licensed area to accommodate a farm dinner being held on August 15th, 2021. Extended area will be through the backfield and around the path on the property adjacent to the farm. This area will be fenced off by rope to contain all guests during the event. The event will host approximately 70 guests at one long table, 72 by 4. It is located at 193 Main Street, Jackson, New Hampshire. I will take a motion to approve this extended liquor license.
I will make that motion.
Yeah.
And all in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Signature.
Woo-hoo.
Maybe they'll have fireworks.
If Peter
I
gets his
don't know
letter.
if they're gonna do it. They will have some music, but they haven't, in their letters, they talked about, they had it last year, so
Yeah.
it falls within.
If Peter gets his license, we can all hire him
I
out.
was gonna say, we'll hire Peter out for the competency license, right? That's awesome. Okay, so the next item is the poll tax settlement. So Consolidated Communications is giving us some money and we have to accept it.
Nope, we're paying them.
Oh, I thought it said a refund amount.
I know, we got money from that.
Now, so I asked Peter about that because I was a little bit unsure of that, and I said, because we had paid out about $20,000 a few years ago.
Right.
And he said he'd have to double check his files, but he thought that this was, the files that came in after that settlement, and he suggested you guys go ahead with that.
How much money is it?
$1,257, and it's $1,180 in the refund plus $77 of interest.
What is it? I'm not.
It's for the poll tax that, there's been a dispute about the value, assessment value of that poll tax, or the poll taxes. That Department of Revenue and, the assessing, Jason Call, they've been working back and forth. I guess where it stands with the Department of Revenue is they've tried to come up with a more standardized pricing or value for those polls. So it deals with that.
And so to further entice us, it says that Consolidated Communication has offered and more than 20 towns so far have accepted a settlement proposal from Consolidated. The basis are those settlements are the basis for this settlement-based communication to you.
Is this 1 year and done, or is this?
Well,
thought it
we
was
had,
done.
a few years back, we paid them, an adjustment of like $20,000. So this is, I feel like that was maybe 2015, 2016-ish. I have to look back for our records.
Yeah.
So this would be for,
But anytime there's an assessment, you know, which is
Right.
every year
Sure.
potentially, I
Well-
mean, you know, he probably doesn't, he does it every 5 years probably for the polls, but in any case, you know, we could get taxed again on it, I suppose. You know, it's not necessarily something we're gonna get out of scot-free.
I wish we could sign something that says once and done,
Yeah, well,
but,
it's property, so tax,
Yeah.
you know, it goes up.
so I will take a motion to pay the poll tax settlement of $1,257 to Consolidated Communications.
I'll make that motion to do that.
John, just to clarify, so it's not us paying, that we send them a tax bill. And they're saying they don't like the value we're charging on their tax bill.
We're assessing their polls
So
too
it's not,
high.
Oh, I
we're
see.
being taxed by them, it's we're charging them.
Right.
Yeah,
It's assessment from the town.
right.
And I think they sued several municipalities.
Yeah.
It was a big lawsuit.
So they're saying that our assessments were too high,
Yeah.
and they're looking for a rebate?
Mhm.
I see. Okay. And how did they assess that? Do we know?
They have
I
an
don't,
attorney.
Yeah, this has been in a lawsuit.
I was just
Yeah,
wondering,
no, I
it's not
I appreciate you asking, because you know,
Yeah.
it is kind of crazy, but it's been going on for, like I said, 5 or 6 years with
Yeah.
these, back and forth with the assessors and lawsuits and
And I think
settlements and.
there's a little bit of vagueness with this, so they're trying to, come up with a more standard way of doing it, through the Department of Revenue. Jason ever since it started, he's been accepting the, recommended value by the GRA.
So this is Jason recommended also, Jason Call recommended?
On
This, or this
I
one too?
don't know that he was notified of this, this just came from town attorney.
Would that be something that we
I
should
was gonna say, do
have
we
him
wanna
look
run
at?
this by him
We can
first?
certainly put it on
Just-
the agenda.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
table,
yeah.
let's let,
You know, or maybe just give him a call and just ask, no pun intended.
Yeah. Okay.
see if we can get the interest knocked off.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
insult to injury as far
I
as I'm
know.
concerned.
Is Jason's father still
I don't
involved
know.
in this?
I don't know if he does or not, I think but Jason does, I don't know.
Okay, because I was just curious. I heard Jason.
All right, we will move that to the next,
Sort of tagged along.
next agenda if it's done by then.
I mean, I don't wanna make much ado about nothing, I just, but
No, I
I'm
just
just
No,
kinda
wanted to be
curious
a
as
little more
to
educated on the whole
what
thing
Jason,
as well.
what he seems to think about that assessment.
Yep. Okay, so we have a couple of board appointments. Dick Bennett, who we all know, has requested to become an alternate on the planning board. And so I will take a motion to appoint Dick as an alternate on the planning board.
I'll make that motion to appoint.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Dick.
Dick has also asked to be an alternate on the Conservation Commission, but at this time, we don't have alternates open on the Conservation Commission because we don't even have alternates, period. So we can make a motion to create that position and have Dick be an alternate on the Conservation Commission if we want to.
Well, for the
I
sake
think
of,
that sounds good for
If
continuity
you
and
want
what Jeff said.
yeah, okay. Because I was gonna say, for the sake of continuity, could we appoint him as the representative of the selectmen for the Conservation Commission?
Do we have a
I think it has to be,
Liaison?
I think it has to be a board
board.
member though, to be,
If
Well,
you
that's
want,
okay,
we
but
can
we
put, we can appoint for the planning board and we'll put the conservation on next and we'll do some more digging.
Yeah, because I know, that's right, I know for the planning board we can't, but I wasn't sure if it was a Conservation
Yeah.
Commission. I mean, I just talked to Pam today and said I was the representative, and she
Right.
was thrilled, but Dick has been there right along, and I know she's been really happy with his work also, so.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go with the planning board and we'll put the conservation on for the next meeting. And then the second is Dr. James Wasco, who I had the pleasure of meeting at Election Day, and he and his wife are wonderful people, and they're doing a lot of volunteering in town. He has also put in a request to serve as an alternate on the planning board.
so I'll make a motion to accept
James Wasco.
James Wasco as an
Great.
alternate on the planning board.
Second.
All in favor for James Wasco?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for your
yeah.
volunteering.
New people, good.
Yes. Cemetery lot agreement in consideration of the sum of $200 paid by the purchaser. We read this off as the names and stuff?
We typically do.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure
Yeah.
it was appropriate. Marcia Scoggin and Michael Luchin of the lot recorded in the records of the town and now standing in the name of Michael Luchin, I apologize if I'm not saying that properly, and Marcia Scoggin, said lots being numbers 530A and B on the map of the village cemetery. The town of Jackson agrees to keep in suitable good repair and preservation the monument, shrubbery, grass, and soil thereon, etc. So,
And so they're buying a spot, is this what it is? They're
two
buying
spots, A and B,
And what do they cost?
$100 each.
No kidding.
Pretty deal.
Your only
Nice.
requirement is to be a Jackson resident, right?
Yeah. So I will accept a motion to accept the cemetery lot agreements for Marcia Scoggin and Michael Luchin.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Signature, please. We already talked to Ellie, so that's done. The next agenda item is Eleanor Davis Lang dedication, and Frank, I will defer to you on that, if you want to sign this first, and then I'll let you speak.
Well, I brought this up because Eleanor Lane was a administrative assistant for the Board of Selectmen back in, I don't know all the years, but I know that in the years that I was in there, she was there, and I was there from '88 to 2003, and up until 1997, when she was getting ready to retire, and she was so happy about that, and she did, and then she passed away, okay? But I could see the way this office runs now, and I knew the people after her, and she basically set the template for everything that we do now. And it is just so sophisticated now, as opposed when she was just starting this thing and taking all the notes shorthand, and the way she handled everything, but she kept it together, okay? And again, she was very, very excited about retiring. Within a year, she passed away, all right? And we dedicated one of the town reports in her name. And that was satisfactory, I thought, for a lot of people. But in my last year as selectman, Gordon Lane, this is where he gets into her husband, remember him, we were some vote, we were up on the stage in the old town hall, I should say the townhouse, not the old town hall, the town hall. And he said to me, you know, Frank, I wish there was something we could do, something more. And I was at a loss. I didn't know what to think about it, and I just let it go by the by. Right? I just didn't do anything. And for all these years, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we could maybe have part of the office named after Ellie Davis Lang? She's one of the Davises from the town of Jackson. And so I brought it up to girls in the office. I mentioned it to Barbara. I think John knew a little bit about it. And coincidentally, Gordon Lang, who has also been another incredible public servant for the town of Jackson, is very sick. And he's in a nursing home or someplace in Effingham. Okay? And Kenny Crowther, another person that we all know, sees him often. And I asked Kenny, I said, Kenny, if you could, tell Gordon that we have all the selectmen in favor of this, that we're going to name a room after her. This is going to happen. And it's going to be the Eleanor Davis Lang room. It could be just a room, one part of it, we'll figure that out exactly, but some part of that office, because really she was so important to all of what we are today. And so I'm hoping that Kenny will be able to get Gordon to understand that yes, this did happen while he's still living. And I just think it'd be a nice gesture of the town of Jackson. And I also know that there's a lot of folks who've done a lot of work in this town. And it may be after they hear this that we may have other people say, well, can we name a garage or could we name another office and this and that? We'll take all comers. You know, tell us what it's about, because there are a lot of people who put an awful lot of work into this town. So that's why I think it would be a wonderful thing to do. And I know that the other two selectmen think it is also.
Yeah. I love hearing the history too, knowing that who helped build the town and the infrastructure.
Yeah,
so
right.
I think it's a wonderful
Yeah,
thing.
we're
to
talking about the
recognize.
administrative infrastructure of this thing, you know, all these reports that we get from the Julies, and, you know, really there's a beginning to all of that a long time ago. And it's just done really well.
So I hope that Kenny is able to get a hold of
Yeah.
her as well, or of Gordon as well. So. All right. I mentioned before, but just to reiterate, thanks to Don Miller for all of his service at the transfer station, and we will have new folks coming on board, but that's a tough job, and he's been very dedicated to the way the transfer station runs. John knows that firsthand.
It's a
So.
great job
If you're
there.
checking bags like John's checking,
Oh,
it get
man.
real tough, I can
I'll
imagine.
tell you what, the flat
Louis-
that he takes is,
Louis Fertile tried doing that a few times. John knows who Louis Fertile is.
By bingo.
all right, so we have two, more things to go on here. There's a, PA 29 veteran credit applications. We have actually 3 of those. So one is for Moran R13 L11 and Zaldi V08/L18 and Rust R09 L15. I will take a motion to accept these applications.
These are FYIs, right?
I know,
don't-
Well,
talked
the
about
thing
it.
is that we had to get them into the bill, like into the system before the tax bill, so formally we can make the motion.
I make a motion to approve those veteran credit applications as stated before.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the next is the solar exempt applications, and again, we're reading these in for Burkett R13/L02-1, Haskett V04/L04, and Kudrick R12/L100-A, and lastly Perkins V07/L29. I'll take a motion to accept those 4 applications for solar exemption.
Yeah, make a motion to go with all what you just said.
I will second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay, short-term rental applications for approval. We have High Pastures West, which is Victor Nunez. At this point, we are not going to approve this, I believe, because he has not changed his advertising to be 4 bedrooms. So we're going to put that on hold until we hear back from Mr.,
Oh, wait.
oh, wait a minute, I'm
No.
sorry, this is the pending ones
New
down there.
permit, yeah. new
I'm
permit.
sorry.
New permits, yep.
Where are the new ones then, Julie? I'm sorry.
On 7, on page 2 right here.
No, I have those, I just didn't
Get
have
those
your
on the
notes
top.
on them, sorry. Okay,
Oh.
they're there.
They should
Okay.
have been that spreadsheet.
Okay, got them. Okay, my bad. So the first one is for 23U01 High Pastures West for Anthony and Carrie Fabrizio. And this one is for 3 bedrooms on the tax card, and they're advertising for 3 bedrooms, sleeps 8. So this one is okay to approve.
I make a motion to approve at 23U01 High Pastures West.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The second one is 97A Dinsmore Road, and that is for Jean and Patrice French. And this is for a 2-bedroom condo, advertising 2 bedrooms, sleep 6, which is also okay to approve.
I will make a motion to approve 97A Dinsmore Road, French.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The third one is 859 New Hampshire Route 16 for Julie Joseph. And there's no building permit, but it's 2-bedroom septic on file, and they advertise for 2-bedroom sleeps 5, so this is also
I've got
okay.
a comment on
Yes.
that. They had a building permit out for a new roof, and they put the new roof on, and when I was there, I noticed they didn't have any smoke detectors, so I told the workers there to relay the info, I guess the owners were coming up. I went back there, there's still not, there's no smoke detectors in those.
Okay, so normally what we're doing is approving them because they've signed the affidavit, and then would you like to file a violation on that? Since you know
I've got to check
that?
about another thing too, because there was another issue, just when I stopped there, I noticed a new vent on the house, and bathroom vent, so I'm like, what's going on? They got a whole new bathroom in there too.
I think let's,
So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I
But
mean,
if they got a building permit out at the same
Like-
time, they're allowing,
they do have a building permit
They had a
though?
building permit just for a roof, not for a new bathroom.
Oh, okay.
And, I mean, there's pictures, they didn't say anything, there's pictures on the website.
All right.
It's like, and they have, but I think the most important thing is, they should get smoke detectors in there.
Okay,
I mean,
let's,
it's like,
are you okay with pending this in the meantime until we make sure that we follow up with them, and we'll put it on for the
Yeah, I
next?
don't know, maybe, something just,
But if they put in a bathroom and they didn't have a building permit for it, I mean, that's
That's another violation.
a violation in a different sense.
Well,
but-
that's another, that's
Yeah,
another issue,
that's-
right, and I can tell you, they definitely, because it's an old cabin, they definitely ran new piping and new wiring and,
that's not him going to look around.
No, I know, I was gonna say, since it's that much of a, we're erring
I
on
think
the
they're
side
two
of
separate
caution
events
there.
though, I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I
we
think
have the smoke
detectors
detectors
are-
and the fact that they have no
that's
building
important.
permit.
The smoke detectors.
Okay, so
Was there
you're,
anything of value to what they did? Do we still?
We don't do the value thing, well, we do.
You know,
It's still in there, but we also adopt the 2015 building codes, and they're pretty strict
Right.
on just what's required for a building permit.
Okay.
And it's when you do branch circuits like electrical, I mean, if you're just changing an outlet or something or like, that's, the circuit's already done. But when you're running new circuits,
All right, okay,
or new hot and cold
I see.
plumbing or waste lines.
Replacing,
Okay.
moving windows,
Yeah, that's.
anything
that's-
structural,
Yep.
you know,
Yes,
but-
Yep,
So substantial changes.
yeah,
is another way to put it.
technically,
yeah, into the mechanical part of the house.
Yeah.
all right, so we'll put that on as pending for next.
Is it a pending or a denial?
It's really a denial.
It's a denial
It's a
with
denial.
caveats.
I'll give them a call and just find out,
Yeah.
maybe the
Yeah.
electrician just hasn't got there, I don't know, but
Well,
they would be renting the place and, there's no visible smoke detectors.
Yeah, it's gotta be safe. I mean, it's-
You could take it down.
It's one of those things that they sign off and check it off if they have
I
them, and
know.
if they don't have them, it's on them.
yeah,
You know,
Well, that's it.
but if we have knowledge,
Mm.
that makes it a little different.
so it is a denial. Could I have a motion? Actually, I'll make a motion to deny the application for 859 New Hampshire Route 16 for Julie Joseph, based on the fact that the building permit allowed us to learn that they do not have proper smoke detectors.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last one is 18 Spring Street with Wanda Solkowski, and this is 3-bedroom building permit, 3-bedroom tax card, advertising, 3-bedroom sleep 6, which is okay for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve 18 Spring Street, Zukowski.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now moving down to the pending. Nunez, we have not heard anything on, so we're not going to do anything but keep that on the pending list. Breen and White have both submitted their applications, so they will be on the next list once the planning board has an opportunity to approve or to review those applications. And then Kaludis, the application is complete, so Julie, we are okay to approve this one? Okay, so this is for a 5-bedroom and it's advertising 5 bedrooms, sleeps 12. So this is at 93 Hiller Road. I'll take a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
That,
On what road?
93 Hiller Road.
Seconded.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right now, we have no complaints for short-term rentals. And I'm gonna start reading the building permit. No, I'm not. Kevin, do you have any comments on the building permits that are on here?
Pretty straightforward there.
You are a busy man.
Yeah.
Is that first one Jack?
New bedroom, new house?
No, that's the new barn that they just put up on Dundee, and they're waiting for the house.
Right, but that isn't Jack Moyne?
No, that's another one.
Hmm.
Yeah, another,
God, wasn't it? Was it?
Bensonwood, Unity Home.
All right, thank you for all the hard work you're doing there on the building permits. And then we have one approved driveway permit, which is at V8, lot 52 Juniper Way, and everything is good with that?
Yeah, I think that's a new lot with they had septic approval and submitted the driveway permit. I believe it's all good.
Perfect.
Yeah, Pat looked at that.
Okay, upcoming meetings, Tuesday, June 8th at 3:30. We will send out a Zoom invitation, but we will hold it in person.
Yes.
And I think that we'll continue to do Zoom for the near future, but we may taper off on that just for the administrative. I do like being able to have folks that can't get here for the meeting be able to publicly attend and, or, virtually attend and comment, so.
Is it an extra burden in any way to have this Zoom all the time?
No, it doesn't cost us anything.
No, I think it's a great way for people to
So
be
it
able
is
to
nice.
see what we're doing and give input
Yep.
without being here.
Yep. So, again, June 8th, we will have the meeting here. Masks will still be required, and we'll unmask up here and for whoever is speaking. And then June 22nd at 3:30, July 13th, and July 27th. The last thing is public comment. So does anyone here have any public comment? Ed, I know you are still on the call for public comment. We did discuss the Jackson Falls parking earlier, and I know you were not able to attend because you were at work and stuff, but do you still have an interest in commenting on the parking at Jackson Falls?
Yes, I did get some clarification as to why the resident spots that were originally described as taxpayer parking were moving to full-time residents. I'm not familiar with this really anywhere else. Conway recently started a recreation parking pass. They quickly discussed full-time residents and moved on to taxpayers. Rye Beach is a town beach based on taxpayers. I've just never seen full-time residents stick. I know there are a couple of lake beaches in New Hampshire that have lost this fight over the years. I just didn't know us versus them in town. Taxpayers are being thrown into the big rivers. I get that it's crowded like that.
Yeah.
Know why.
So just to fill you in on some of the conversation we had earlier in the meeting, and not to drag it out too much, but we aren't banning people from parking at Jackson Falls. What we're doing is limiting 3 spots and up to 2-hour parking for Jackson residents that have a Jackson driver's license and own a vehicle that is registered in Jackson. So this is a trial. I mean, we're really hoping that it works out and that it makes the parking more available to everyone at the falls by limiting it to 2 hours. So we're not banning parking anywhere, we're not charging for parking, but what we are doing is trying to give the full-time residents in town access to 3 different spots at the falls, and the rest of it is open to the full public.
And it's still 2 hours.
And it's still 2-hour parking on all spots around Jackson Falls, whether it be resident or general parking. So,
I guess the issue still stands for me that it's still going to be crowded. 2 hours is a stretch, and you'll be there in this rotation. And the taxpayers that do not otherwise use a lot of services are being left out of this special exception that will allow someone to slip in and out, depending on who's already down there. I just don't really see it. I had a lot of conversations at Prospect Farm. Full-time residents are not fans of that parking not being controlled by the town, which up in the survey that went out over the winter, it surprised people. I've had a lot of conversations with people that actually want to limit parking out there to full-time residents. I'm a pass holder and taxpayer. They walk it back to taxpayer, but this is the intention kind of all over town. In every conversation I have, I don't know why the town itself would support this push. The 2 to 3 came out of the overcrowding going on with the day trippers. I just think it's a bridge too far over the second homeowner taxpayers. It's all around for and getting these 2 or 3 to the side for the town. I get it. I just don't know why this line would be drawn. Seeing what's going on in Conway, seeing what I witnessed a lot of fights. I played with a lot at Prospect Farm this winter because I have New Hampshire. If I had mass plates, I'm in a lot of arguments about where I shouldn't be on a Tuesday.
right. And I appreciate your input, and we have heard from other people as well. We made this decision based on partially on the survey that we got, and again, we're trying to do something proactive to offer more space to the full-time residents. It's a new thing that we're trying. We're hoping that it works out well, and we'll see how it goes, especially as the next few holidays come up through the summer. So I definitely appreciate your input.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other comments to make? I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second. We'll take that motion to adjourn.
I will second. You make the motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you
you.
very
That wasn't so
much.
bad.
Thanks for attending, Bill, as well.